Can you become a millionaire just by tracking your miles? My name is Paul Vasquez with Tax Lab, and you need to become an ethical millionaire. What's fantastic is that utilizing smart and legal tax strategies is an ethical way of saving money, and sometimes, and especially in this case, a penny saved is a penny earned. So let's take an example. Let's say my nephew begins to drive for DoorDash. And according to the internet, a DoorDash driver drives around 10 to 20,000 miles a year. And they're earning about $1 to $2 a mile. So even if we kind of looked at that low end, then he's making $10,000. Now, with the standard deduction, he's not going to pay any income tax on that $10,000. However, if you're self-employed, if you're getting that 1099, you are also subject, in addition to income tax, to self-employment tax, which taxes you at 15.3% in addition to any income tax that you might owe. So if all you make is $10,000, you may not be subject to income tax with a standard deduction, but you would be subject to self-employment tax once you earn over $400. So you need some deductions to kind of help you. One of those might be the mileage rate. And as we said, it was 70 cents a mile. So let's look at that low end. And that low end, you're doing 10,000 miles. So that means you get to write off $7,000 of that income. Doesn't 100% eliminate your self-employment tax. But if you take that $7,000 and you say, okay, this is it, what would have been the tax on that $7,000? Well, take 7,000, multiply it by 0.153, and you get 1,071. So he's saving $1,071. For easy math, you could call it 1,000, but he's saving $1,000 in taxes a year. And yeah, you're not a millionaire yet, but that's 1,000 extra dollars that you could use for other things, like saving and investing. If you put that $1,000 away in for, let's say, you're saving $1,000 each year, and instead of giving that to the tax man, you give it to your investment portfolio, and on average returns, let's say 8%. Over 10 years, that's $15,000 sitting in an investment account. Once again, not a millionaire, but let's say you do that for 30 years. Over 30 years, if you have this gig work that you're doing for your career, maybe it's not Uber, but maybe you're doing something where you're still having mileage or maybe other deductions. It doesn't have to be mileage. It could be any deduction against your taxable income that you're saving that 15.3% on. If you're just saving $1,000 a year for 10 years and you're able to invest that in the market, you're coming out with over $121,000 on standard returns. Once again, not a millionaire, but this is why one tax strategy is not enough to make you a millionaire. And so just having one strategy down, it's going to be a great help, especially if you're just starting out, especially if you're doing well, or if you're starting off and have some income coming in. Saving $1,000 a year could be very beneficial to you starting off. Whether you're saving that money or having to spend it on other things, it's a great help. Will it make you a millionaire by itself? No, it won't. But it's an example of one of the legal and ethical things that you can do to help you get there. If you had $121,000 sitting in an investment fund, that sucker starts to compound. So let's say you're starting off in your 20s and now you're in your 50s. And so now you're going, let's say you keep putting away another $1,000 a year, and now you're 40s. Now you're up to $200,000. If you don't have to use all that for another 10 years, that's $600,000. if you can go another 10 years with that, now you're up to $1.3 million. So over a lifetime, maybe it could make you a millionaire, but then, unless we reach the immortality longevity threshold, you might not be around to enjoy it if that's the only strategy that you use and you're able to use it for that long. So by itself, no, you're right. It's probably not going to make you an ethical millionaire, but it is one strategy that can help you get there. Becoming an ethical millionaire, there's not one strategy. There's not one strategy that's going to do it for you. You need a real plan. The videos I make here are for people who maybe can't afford an actual plan to help you become an ethical millionaire. And so these are kind of the freebies, the giveaways, hey, let's get you to a point where you can afford a service like ours that shows you the ethical roadmap to get there. But hey, becoming a millionaire may not be the most important thing to you. And it shouldn't be. What it is, it's about a financial strategy to give you security. Having $1 million in retirement means you're living off of $40,000 a year with the 4% rule. Once again, not a big threshold or not a huge standard of living. But what's interesting is the people who actually learn how to employ the strategies that help them become a millionaire, they're the same type of people who could probably live off of that 4%. They learn how not to live an extravagant lifestyle. Making your first million is not about the flash. It's not about Rolexes and fancy cars. That's how you lose $1 million, right? That's not how you live off of $1 million. And maybe it's not you that becomes the affluent, super affluent person in your family, but maybe you're the one who sets the groundwork for a future generation. So wouldn't it have been nice if a family member had done that for you? If they had started you off on maybe a little bit higher of a threshold where you had less fear of not having enough to eat, not having a place to live, not having enough to get by, and then possibly being able to take a few more risks, being able to explore the world a little bit more. So somebody in the past has probably made those sacrifices for those wealthy families. It's up to you whether that's going to be you. Whether or not you care about saving 70 cents a mile or finding another way, all it can do is help you. It's not tracking your mileage in the grand scheme of things is not a big ask, right? Tracking your mileage is a very small task to do if you're in business, driving DoorDash or anything like that. But it begins to help you have the mindset and the attention where it needs to be, so that way you can make small changes that have a big effect on your life. So, there's tons of parables out there where somebody, needed to do something grandiose to make them feel like doing the small things meant something. But sometimes it is small and ethical things that you can do to help you become a millionaire. The next step is probably earning more, right? Earning more money helps you often save more money. So that's why a lot of people are doing a DoorDash or second job or something like that. And if they can take more of that money home, that can help them become more financially stable. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the question. And I wish you all the success.